2 or 3 beers while we're watching the Super Bowl, you know, by ourselves. And so some other stuff ended. Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's me, Jeremimes, and I'm back with not another review this time. I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually coming at you with a story time this time around. My channel, you know, for the most part has been mostly reviews, but I kind of wanted to try something different today. So I chose a topic, and it might be a little controversial. The topic for today is actually hooking up with straight friends. In case you couldn't tell by the review videos of Mariah Carey and then the jerseys and all the other stuff going on, I'm actually a bisexual guy. I like girls and guys equally. It's a long story of how I discovered everything, but I know there's probably some questions, but I'll actually address that in a later video. So today I want to talk a little bit about hooking up with straight friends. For a lot of guys who identify as LGBTQIA, it might be a little weird, the topic of having straight buddies and hooking up and things like that. But for me, it's different because, like, I really don't have any gay friends. You know what I mean? All my friends from maybe high school and up have been straight guys, usually a lot of times older guys, married guys, and things like that. And I mean, I am who I am. I don't try to hide who I am or anything, but I just like to hang out with straight guys. And it's like, for the most part, I act just like this with them. You know what I mean? But it's like, when you're of a different breed, you can kind of be cool and mess with straight people. You know what I mean? And have it not be weird. You know what I mean? So it's weird. I attract a lot of straight friends. You know what I mean? I mostly hang out with straight friends. I don't think I've ever really had like a good gay friend like that. So I mean, with the territory, obviously it's kind of sticky, and sometimes the lines get blurred. But with me, for the most part, I've always had a rule of thumb. I don't hook up with friends, because I mean, a lot of my friendships I really value. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for a lot of gay bi guys to get close to straight men without a stigma. And for the most part, I've been fortunate enough to find people who just accept me for me and don't really have that stigma. And instead of trying to go and like sneakily, like, you know, make something happen, I'd rather just be friends. And in fact, it's been quite the opposite way around. Whereas a lot of my friends have hit on me, or just flat out, like, you know, came forward and approached me, and I actually turned them down. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's part of my rules. I don't hook up with friends because I really value those friendships, especially with people from the straight community. You know what I mean? And that acceptance. And I don't really want to blur those lines. But it's like, at the same time, I mean, sometimes you look at your friends kind of a certain way. And I will admit, sometimes I befriend people because of an attraction, and it's not necessarily me wanting to hook up with them or get anything popped off. A lot of times that would be the last thing I want, but it's like, I see sometimes a beautiful guy or girl and I just want to be a part of their world. You know what I mean? I'm kind of a little intrigued, you know, but I usually try to make it clear that, like, nothing's gonna happen. I don't like actively flirt with my friends or come on to them or send mixed signals or anything, just for that reason, because I enjoy my friendships, you know what I mean, with whoever. You know, if I'm trying to hook up with you, I'm trying to hook up with you, and there's no like kind of gray area. You know what I mean? So let's start with, I mean, I'll take it way back. I'm actually going to get into a recent story, which just me breaking my rule, which I shouldn't have done. And it's like, it shows you I shouldn't have done that. But I guess the first time, like, I really had a straight friend that, like, it was probably like elementary school. I had this friend, and I don't know if I should name people because it's like, people know me, but I don't think anyone who knows me is in this channel, so I'll go ahead and drop some names. There's a guy named Jared from my elementary school, and he was my next door neighbor, right? Black guy, you know what I mean? So cute, you know. And so we would ride to school every day, like just homies, you know what I mean? Just bros. I ride him on my bike. I don't know. I started crushing on him a little bit. I would ride my bike, and he would be like on the back on the pegs, and like we were like in close contact, you know. And one day some stuff happened. Oh my god, I'm so bad at explaining. Okay, so one day we were hanging out, and you know, when you're young, you experiment and you do little things. We're hanging out in my room, and like some music came on, and he like told me to twerk. Mind you, we're in like the fourth or fifth grade, and so like I like kind of like gave him a lap dance. You know what I mean? And so, long story short, like somehow I ended up with like my face in his lap, and he tried to like take it to another level, and I stopped myself, and that was probably like my first experience with that. There was another time I was in like maybe, and see, before then I had never done anything with anybody, guy or girl. Well, I had experimented with girls a little bit, but I wasn't really serious, so it's like that kind of stuff still freaked me out because I was in like elementary school. You know what I mean? But after that, I went on to middle school. There was a guy named Richie who like he was like a little emo boy, looked like Brandon Boyd from Incubus. All the girls liked him. My neighbor was actually telling me that she had the biggest crush on Richie or whatever, but I mean, I had became really popular, and I guess I was hanging out with the really popular kids. So one day, like, I started smoking weed and stuff like that. I was maybe like in the eighth grade. So one day Richie came to my house, and so I'm like, why is he trying to come to my house? Because then I was kind of getting a little sexually active and having one-on-ones, and you know how it is when you're a teenager, whenever you're alone with somebody, usually of the opposite sex, something goes down. Well, this time I took my boy home, you know, and we were just supposed to smoke weed in my house. And so it was like so awkward, like, because I come from a place of no, I always usually turn people down. So we're both sitting on, I had twin beds in my room. I still remember like it was yesterday. Like, Richard was so cute, but I never really liked him because he had bad acne. All the girls liked him. So we're chilling in my room. Excuse me while I spark this. So we're hanging out in my room, and we're on the bed. My mom's not home. We like just smoked some pot. We came home to play video games. And so he's sitting on one bed. I'm sitting on the other bed. And he starts looking at me like, giving me this look like, what's up? Come over here. And so like, I ended up just being weirded out. And it's like, I don't know. I'm like very much kind of Mary Poppins, you know, when sexual situations happen. Sometimes I shy away from it. So I just looked at him and I'm like, because I already knew it was going to happen. You know, and so after that we went back to school. He went home, we went back to school, and like, I guess he kind of distanced himself from me because of that turn down. So that was probably like my second situation. Throughout high school I had like, I don't know, a lot of weird stuff would happen in my high school. Because, you know, just being an open person, like I've had guys like do weird stuff, and I'll say that for another story time. But I remember I started my first job at Subway, right? And so there's this manager, his name was Mike, and he actually went to our school too. I was in like the ninth grade. He was in like maybe, I think he was a senior, and he was about to graduate soon. And so we were working or whatever. He was my manager. Somehow he had broke his foot, and he's like geeky white guy. He's like kind of cute. I thought he was cute. He reminded me of one dude. I don't know the actor's name. The guy who played the Scarecrow in the first Batman, but he had like longer hair. Kind of reminded me of him. And so he broke his foot, so he was off, and then he finally comes back, and it's like I was moving back to California from South Carolina, right? And so he comes back and he's telling me all his little stories or whatever, and like I'm listening, and then he starts telling me like sexualized stories. And from my experience, I know that usually when straight guys tell sexualized stories or mention girls, it's usually a sly way of flirting sometimes. You know, so he's telling me the story. Oh yeah, this girl sucked my dick and whoop de whoop whoop and da 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 da. Mind you, I'm like a freshman and he's like a senior, probably like 18 or 17, and I'm like 15 or 14 or something like that. So I really wasn't thinking anything of it. Long story short, I didn't have a way to get home. My mom was late, so he offered me a ride home. And at the end of the ride, he hit me with the, oh, what would you do if I pulled it out right now? And I'm like, I wouldn't do anything because I still wasn't too sexually active, and I was kind of prude back then. And so he pulls it out, and I'm just like shocked. I was so embarrassed that I just like got out the car and beeline straight to my house. He ignored me after that, of course. So yeah, luckily this was like my last week at that job because I was moving back home to California. But it's like the last couple of days he ignored me after that, and like, you know, like the typical guys do when you like reject them or turn them down, and it was a little awkward, but luckily I was moving. Okay, so I'm gonna skip way forward. There was some other stuff that happened in between then, but remember, my rule is generally like I don't hook up with my straight buddies. Like they might play around, but when they get to the like serious flirtation, I usually shut it down, or I don't know. Part of me just gets really awkward and like really turned down. You know, so I had a situation recently, like a guy who was in my circle who I was crushing on since high school. Like the guy was with the most prettiest girl in the school. Like it was this guy named Nathan. We called him Busy because he looked like Busy Bone. Like he was like Mexican, but he was like tan, and he had long curly hair, and he used to have his hair in the ponytail. Sometimes he would wear braids. It's like, oh, he was like just that dude in school. You know what I mean? Going out with this beautiful girl named Marilyn, who everyone's still in love with. Long flowy black hair. They were like that couple. You know what I mean? Like the cutest couple almost. So I graduated not too long ago. We're hanging out, and he's in my circle. But I actually like, and I know it's bad. It's like against my rules, but I had my eye on another guy. This guy in our group named Gappy or whatever, like big buff, like SA kind of guy. But like Busy was there, and Busy was like kind of different. You know what I mean? And so we just hung out, and after the group kind of disbanded, me and Busy would still hang out. Like I would go to his house, smoke weed, drink beers and stuff like that. So, and nothing ever happened, but I would chill over there literally like for hours in his garage, like doing nothing. You know what I mean? And so like we have fell out of touch, but he still lived in the same place. And so recently this year he started hitting me up like, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? Da 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 da. Like, and so I'm like curbing him because I wasn't really trying to chill with anybody from my past. Like I've been so turned down lately. But I'm like, you know what? He's my boy, and it's like Super Bowl Sunday, so I should maybe go out and do something. You know what I mean? So I go to his house. He actually picks me up from my house. I have a car, so I'm like, why are you picking me up? First off, and he doesn't even live that far, but he picked me up and brought me to his house or whatever. And so like, you know my rule. This is like the first time I actually like kind of broke my rule. I don't hook up with my homies because I kind of value those relationships, you know. And so so we're drinking or whatever and getting loose and smoking, and I probably got like a little too intoxicated. And it's like, I don't know about you guys, like I know a lot of you guys don't hang out with straight guys, but I mean sometimes like straight guys like to watch porn together. That's what ended up happening with me and my friends a lot of times, and I'm just like, I mean, I guess it's some grown man shit. Like we're sitting there fucking playing blackjack, you know what I mean, taking each other's money with fucking beers, weed, whatever in the background, having a good time, and somebody puts on some porn, like have some porn in the background. I don't know, is that weird? You guys think that's weird? I think it's a little suspect, but I mean, it just seems very grown man to me. I would do it a lot of times for shits and giggles. So I mean, he's going through like his Facebook, his Moco Space or whatever account he has, showing me all these girls, and he's like, damn, that bitch is bad. And I'm like, yeah, she is bad. Like, how'd you meet her? Whoop whoop whoop. And so like we just go off on the topic of girls. I'm showing him girls from my inbox and like nudes and shit like that, and he's like, damn, she's bad. Whoop whoop whoop. Long story short, that led us to going to Chatterbait. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you guys know what Chatterbait is. I don't want to promo the site on here like that, but yeah, we ended up on Chatterbait just looking through the cams and whatever. They have like live webcam girls. It's like free and shit. You can talk to them. And so we're like just going along looking at girls like, oh, she's bad, whoop whoop whoop, like almost bordering like a circle jerk situation. I've had a couple of those in the past, and I'll save that for another story time. If you guys like this or you want to hear me go more in depth over anything I mentioned here, just let me know. So yeah, we're on the site and we're looking at girls, and then I'm like trying to test him out, see, because I've always kind of had a crush on him, and I kind of, the intoxication made me override everything. So I like turn on some tranny cams, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, oh, she's bad. And so I'm asking him questions like, what, you smashed? And he's like, yeah, whoop whoop whoop. Like he was down with it, and I was kind of shocked, you know what I mean, because I've only known Busy to be with females. And so I go on to the sex, like the couple cams, okay? And so now we're watching couples. And it's like every guy who from every camera that we came across or whatever, he'd be like, "Oh, mine's is bigger, mine's is bigger, mine's is bigger." So you know me, I'm like, "Your shit ain't bigger than his," and I'm like, "Prove it." He's like, "No, dog, my shit's like 8 inches cut and whoop whoop da 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 da." And so he's like bragging about himself, and so I'm like, "Bro, you're like 5'5", you're Mexican, and you wear like a size 8 shoe. There's no way like you're packing more than this guy on the camera." So long story short, like, I was like, "Prove it," and he like proved it. You know what I mean? He exposed himself, and I was like kind of taken aback. And then like he did it again, and like I grabbed it, but he was like acting super sketchy, and like he started to get like aroused or whatever, and then he like put it back in his pants, and I'm like, "Bro, like, it's so teasy, you know what I mean? You're not gonna just whip it out and not do anything with it. Like, why are you know what I mean?" Mind you, he wasn't even that intoxicated. I was actually drinking liquor. He drank like 2 or 3 beers while we were watching the Super Bowl, you know, by ourselves. And so some other stuff ended up happening. Like, he would let me like do things, you know what I mean? Then he would like push my hand away, and so I'm like, "Bro, you're like playing games," you know what I mean? And so I just sat on the bed, and he ended up actually like pulling my shorts down a little bit, and it's like, "Bro," like, and then he pulled them back up, and I'm like, "Oh, you're teasing," you know what I mean? So I'm like, "Take me home." But it's like ever since that night, it's like I was thinking like, what was it? Like, what really happened? You know what I mean? Was it blame it on the alcohol situation? Were we just a little too intoxicated? Is it going to be awkward? And we've hung out again since then, and like our last hangout was super sketchy, but he has a girlfriend now, and I would never cross that line. But it's like, in general, I don't like hooking up with my straight friends, and this is exactly why, because I hate, like, I don't want to be like that giddy schoolgirl in the back of my mind, like, "Oh, does he like me? Does he not like me? Is he just like using me just to get down and whatever," you know? So it's like just putting myself in that situation. I wish I hadn't done that, because I value our friendship a lot, you know what I mean? Because we used to hang out a lot, like one-on-ones at his house, just chilling like bros, you know what I mean? And I appreciate those type of friendships, and I value those type of friendships as well. So it's like I look back and I just hit myself in the head, like, I wish I never done that. You know what I mean? Because now I might have ruined a friendship that I actually valued. And this is exactly why I don't hook up with like my straight male friends. You know, if I don't even care if you're like bi-curious or DL, if you give yourself a title, like, I'm gonna respect that. You know what I mean? Just because I don't want to lose what we had. And that one time that I crossed the line, it's like, like, why did I do that? And then it showed me exactly why I don't do that. So yeah. So have you guys ever had any situations with straight friends coming on to you? What do you guys usually do? Let me know your feelings about the situation. Like, was he just not into me? Was he just trying to prove his point? You know what I mean? On some bromosexual shit? Or was I just being thirsty? Because I posted this in a Facebook group, and they're like, "Oh, he just doesn't like you, girl. You're just being thirsty," and whoop, whoop, whoop. What do you guys think? Because it's like, I need closure. And this is why I don't open those doors. But yeah, that's my little story time for today. I usually do reviews and whatnot, but I wanted to get a little more personal, give you guys a little bit more of me, and get off the whole music reviewing things, because there's not too much that I want to review right now. So if you like this story time, let me know. Hit the like button, subscribe. I have a lot more story times. I was thinking about telling you like my first time with the guy, the time I was dating a guy and a girl, my first hookup, which was like someone way older than me when I was in middle school, like someone in their 40s. You know what I mean? If you want to see any of these story times, leave it in the comments below. Thanks for checking me out. Like and subscribe, and I'll be back. Peace. Woo!